I'm best described by a reoccurring dream I have endured since childhood. Through a shoddy dawn, I follow a thread that leads me ever deeper into the maze of sound. My mission? To seek out and slay the dreadful sonic beast that lurks at its heart. At every twist and juncture, I pass musical genres, some well known, many yet to be discovered. The sweaty dance for eternity, panting like ill-used heifers after a barbaric milk. The rock gods, a glistening gather of pointless prunes. The pop brigade, all youth and trousers, even a pack of canny improvisers slumped unconscious over a free bar. At last I enter a dark chamber at the centre of the maze, a trap. Hideous forms surround me. There is not just one sonic beast, but a burgeoning army. A terrible scream rips from my throat. At once, all around, the shattering of a million panes of glass, as though an almighty fist had torn through the clouds and pummeled a skyscraper. Eventually, silence. When I gather up the courage to look up, I see that I'm standing in the Hall of Mirrors.
Busters slow the rotation. What are the Benjamin saying? You'll smell the brimstone returning. They say America's burning.
Naked, so not for quite some time anyway, so I can't actually confirm that, but I go 85% on that he's a man. He's quiet and yet loud. He's a thinker and yet an actor. He's a painter and yet a sculptor. He's a beach and yet the sea. He's a cup and yet a spoon. He's a table and a chair. He's the lawn and he's the mower. He's the home and he's the state. He's the mansion and the man. That's enough about Xentos, isn't it?
I can see why you have a theory about him being affected by something that isn't being articulated. When I first met Voag, he introduced himself as St. John and insisted that I called him that, and was really quite aggressive about being this person St. John, even though by that time the band he was in was Amos and Sarah, so everybody knew him as Amos. So even within the first few weeks of meeting him, he had 3 personalities on the go, and the person who signed the contract, it was clearly him as well, was a different name again. And he's somebody who, right from the beginning, it seemed to me, articulated and fronted that the notion that is central to a lot of artistic activity, which is how do you reinvent yourself as an artist. And I think in contrast to most of his contemporaries, he reinvent himself sometimes on a kind of monthly basis. After he put out The Way Out, he released a series of cassettes under such a diverse array of names that I don't think anybody, from a consuming point of view, would be able to keep up with them. He might even produce 2 a week. So I don't know that it's a question of trauma, rather it's a question of a very profound and conscious artistic decision that means that he's erasing himself from his work even as he goes along.
Okay, about meeting Xentos. Well, it all goes, flashback, everything going warped. We all met up in Deptford in southeast London on an estate when Milk from Cheltenham, being this come and have a play, have a jam, he was in the Homosexuals, and eventually struck up friendship, and eventually that's how he came to produce the Milk from Cheltenham album. But being very close to what we were doing anyway, that's more like his much more experimental side, being in Milk from Cheltenham and playing in Milk from Cheltenham, than in the Homosexuals, even, because they were quite, drilled about what they were doing, quite, very different departure.
Silent friends now. Bloodshot eyes. Advertising. Isolation. Weekly. The messengers of radio. Of kingdom. Of Zion.
Quite honestly, I'm the last person whose opinion you should ask for. It's a failing on my part that I tend to be a tad more frank in these things than is wise. Well, if you feel you must, there's the player, stick it on. We shall see. Indeed. Let's just listen to it. Where or how it was recorded is quite immaterial. Oh. What? Are you kidding me? What? ask me, is this arsehole who needs ending? Or his patents pending? I can't believe what I'm hearing. Go on, tell him what you really think. Well, it's like this. I mean, it's always a delicate issue, this question of taste. After all, who doesn't like to be flattered? But as I was saying just last week to a person who shall remain nameless, as I read something he'd recently written, we must all do our utmost to control that nasty itch for scribbling to which we are so prone. We should also keep a tight grip on that idiotic desire for praise which makes us rush out and stick our self-indulgent pen-pushing under the nose of the unsuspecting. No, you misunderstand me. But as I said to this bloke, one ill-conceived page of dross can destroy your reputation. You know how people are. Even though you may have 100 or more good qualities, they only notice your failings. I never said that. There's nothing wrong in making a noise to amuse yourself, but the only people who can be excused for letting their pompous puerile product loose on the world are those who have to do it for a living. If you insist. If I was you, I'd stick your music in one of those time capsules that won't be open for at least 1,000 years. That way you'd prevent yourself and your progeny from becoming a laughing stock. I know I couldn't do any better, and that's exactly why I'd never force any other poor sod to listen to the result. Well, if it's praise you're after, piss off and look elsewhere. I don't give a monkey's. I'll say what I please. Sod off, you tosser! That's so
Last for years.
Like a good detergent. Pregnant tears. Last for years. Like a good detergent.
Pregnant tears. Like a good detergent. Like a good detergent.
Flagrant tears.
Last for years.
Like a good detergent. Last for years.
Like a good detergent.
Fragrant tears. Last for years. Like a good detergent.
Fragrant tears.
Last for years. Like a good detergent.
I like anything about film. That's my strong point. Yeah.
Okay.
From 1974 to August 1975. Yeah.
Okay.
Not including the summer. I was away that summer. In Mallorca. Yeah, with Robert. Genghis on the Beach was one of Gent's first films. Early Bentos is of course always fascinating for 4 reasons. A, hue, and I don't refer to my good friend, Granty. B, scree, double E. C, toning. The man was an absolute perfectionist. He would spend maybe a month, 2 months, resting and sleeping on that beach just to understand exactly the magnitude and depth and height of the light at certain times of both day and day. 4, probably most important of all, was was timbre. I mean timbre as in a bell ringing in a distant lavatory. A phone being hung up on the hook in a far-off planet. And so, in that first film, as I say, I think the one thing about all his work that sticks in one's head over and over again, you think editing, yeah? Why didn't he do any? Reason one, he didn't have any editing equipment, I suppose. Makes it difficult. Well, not impossible, of course. No editing in the sense of editing. Of course, editing with the eye, it doesn't stop, does it? Editing with the teeth and the nose. And that's what I love, his organic organ sense of how to use each organ contextually. That's a real art and a talent. You can't learn that at any college, you know, or university. It's something you pick up in the street.
I was saying about being softies about what you could have done with the medium. I mean, Triptych of Poisoners, the title track, is brilliant because not only was it like originally like something like 19 cassettes of like record loops, all being processed with marvelous reverbs and, you know, studio effects, and nearly, as I say, on the cusp of possibly discovering sampling. You know, in as much as we had these fabulous gizmos that could lock in other sections of sound and almost trigger them, and we really could have, if we'd have stood back and thought about it, we could have been doing some kind of proto-sampling, and then the art of noise would have had to say sorry. By the time we came to Trip Computer Die, so by the time we came to the second album, we could see it was much more like akin to tape editing. And I'm very proud of the what we did in America's Burning, as almost like a piece of music concrete, a tape collage. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I've gone back to, you know, trying to think about tape splicing, which is why I'm going back to basics right now, almost having a rethink about. And that's why I'm not mad about laptops and things, because it just doesn't look very physical to me. So no listening conditions apart from the best way to listen to music is to probably take out your eyes.
The story so far. Our intrepid DJ, Harmon E. Fraser, has been packed off to the Swiss Alps by the 22 members of the 23rd echelon of the Resonance Radio Steering Committee. Harmon is under orders to penetrate the sinister clinic run by the prepotent Americano philanthropist Praline Desperados. Within the sinister clinic, Praline hosts a special retreat for malnourished improvisers. However, we've counted them all in, but we haven't counted any coming out. Some of our improvisers are missing.
Top of the morning to you, Mrs. Mesher Smith. Got any more of that lovely ricin and muesli mix?
What are those 2 piles of compact discs you've left all over me breakfast table? What do you think this is? Ray's jazz parlour?
Well, Mrs. M, on the left are Harmon's saxophone CDs. Harmon loves saxophones.
Oh dear.
And on the right are my improvisation CDs. Now, there's music that makes you stand up and be anointed. Improvisation. The West was won with an alto sax and a 6-gun, you know.
Oh, Mr. E. Fraser, what have those fiends done to you? They've destroyed your mind and turned you into an unwitting langoustine. If I hears another bloody saxophone record, I swears me medulla oblongata will implode.
No, really, off-air he's quite evil. I think this comes out through his show. He's always plotting and scheming and usually tricking people into saying things they don't want to say. Or in my case, he tricked me into impersonating Keith Rowe. I didn't realise it was going to be used for a radio show. And then another time he phoned up and he forced me to pretend to be Derek Bailey. And so he's got sort of plots and schemes all the time, and that persona that he presents on the Harmony Fraser show is completely artificial and dishonest, really, I'd say. Intellectually dishonest, basically. I said basically, you got that, didn't you? What else would I say about Harmon off-air? He's pretty tight with his money, and I know that. I've never known him to buy a round of drinks. Though I haven't known him that long, not as Harmon. Well, the reason Harmon doesn't like improvisers is because he's not very good at improvising himself. He studied with Derek Bailey for several years. Started off making the tea, as a lot of improvisers did. Starts making the tea for Derek, and then he fell out with Derek, and he tried to get Keith Rowe to teach him play the guitar, and that wasn't a success either. No, in fact, he started out getting Keith Rowe to show him how to play the saxophone. That was his main mistake. And Harmon, he's good with tape technology and kind of splicing things together and stealing people's ideas and that kind of stuff, but he has nothing existentially inside him that he can draw on in a way that would make him a successful improviser. How do I feel about him using the radio station to kind of propagate his evil message? Well, I look on it as a way of keeping him off the streets, really. If he wasn't doing the show, he'd be turning up at concerts, and either he'd be interrupting them with his sort of malicious method of heckling, or worse still, he might say bring along a violin and try and join in, and the results could be cataclysmic, honestly.
Be clear what it means when a worker can experience even his relation to the machine as one of dialogue, when, for instance, a compositor tells that he has understood the machine's humming as a merry and grateful smile at me for helping it to set aside the difficulties and obstructions which disturbed and bruised and pained it, so that now it can run free.
What are you putting them on for? You're looking for a wife?
No, I was just thinking about Sarah. We used to come up here quite often and sit. It's almost 10 years since she left from New York to become a bodybuilder. Not for nothing.
Sometimes I think I see her on Camden High Street, with her hair long, not cropped like it used to be.
She's meant to be someplace, I think, chasing a pittance or some fun. If you wait long enough, you'll see something, but I'm not sure that's right.
It's that thing when you notice for the first time the way you lose people as you go along. When you notice they disappear like dreams, and then it's over. Finish. You'll get lost someday in the flood of people and things. The days never stop.
Way too much gets in the way too much.
All these updates, these extras and flat sitters strolling along with their saxophones and books on terrorism. They're in a dream with the others. Soon they'll be gone too.
I know it's sad, it's rotten.
Sometimes I get the impulse to jump out in the street and make them stop. Grab them by their potsy coats and make them stop. Not move anymore. Stay where they are once and for all. You know, not see them going away anymore.
I had a dream last night. I dreamt that the technicians of this little film revolted. While they were taking the shots in the preparation of this film, they never have the right to speak. How does that come about? And I thought they might have the bollocks to push me out or take my place, but nevertheless, they're not moving. What the hell is that all about? Can they explain this to me? Why don't they come and push me out, and you too, and say, it's so ridiculous what you're saying, I don't want to carry on with this work. Ask them. The Sandman as well. Of course I want to break the order. It seems so rigid. I'm all on my own here, and in front of me there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people with cameras and microphones asking me to perform. I don't know what you want from me. Do you want me to stick my guitar up my arse? Of course I want to break the order in this room. That's why yesterday I asked you to make up your own story. You asked me if the abstract was obfuscating reality, and I said no, because the abstract is as valid as the mundane, but you are continuing to interrogate me, using your camera as a weapon against me. And I'm alone in this little chair being questioned by lots of people. There's a norm on one side where you are, and then there is a margin where I am being marginalised. If I'm afraid to join the norm, then so be it. And if I'm getting annoyed, it's because even now I'm joining the norm. I'm going to art galleries, being packaged and historified, contributing to the market economy nostalgia. Of course I'm not pleased, but I'm not annoyed with you for being part of the norm. I'm annoyed with myself for accepting to come here.